So my first question is, when you were at Villanova, did you experience any setbacks, and how did you handle that?
So I did. I started out freshman year. Things were going gangbusters. And then I got a call from my father just before the December break that my mother was very sick and she was in the hospital. So he said, you better come home. So I raced home, and actually by the time I got home, she died the next day. So I was doing really well in my courses. I got through my finals, everything was fine. But then when I got back from the break, it just wasn't the same. I mean, it was like devastating. And I really probably wasn't ready to go back to school right away. But I went back, and I went from almost straight A's to an okay record. My family sort of got its act together with a lot of help from my grandmother, who came in as a surrogate mother. And then it was okay. Then I got back on track and started going again. But for a while, it looked like, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're taking way too many courses. And that's exactly what happened. My GPA just plummeted all of a sudden from something that was really great to just so-so. So it was really destabilizing for quite some time. And but it came back together, and it was just a question of getting through that tough period where everything was not in great shape. So I didn't have a lot of social life. I worked really hard. I worked long, and I was also doing some work in the computing center as well. So I was working long hours with not a lot of social activity. In some ways it was good in that I could really devote myself to my work. And I loved what I was doing. I loved my studies, especially when I got to junior and senior year. So.
Do you think that's what kind of kept you through that, like being able to really love what you were?
I mean, I just loved it. I would just go into program. It was intellectually so engaging.
CS fever.
Yeah, exactly. CS fever. That's what it is. And I just loved it. And it was, and I found that it aligned with the way I thought, so I could master the kind of thinking. And programming and writing are the kind of the two hardest things I've found in life. They just demand all your attention and all your focus. So.
Yeah, they suck it out of you.
Yeah, exactly. You can work really hard at something you're passionate about, and no matter how capable you are, or if you're not passionate about something, it's hard to work really hard at it for a sustained period. It's hard to make it your life's work in particular, right?
There's a lot of really great speakers at Stanford that come and they tell about, they've been very successful in their respective fields. And they talk about how they got from point A to point C. And I'm more interested, I think, in how they got over point B, and when they hit that bump in the road or that setback, how did they manage to get over that and, build themselves back up?
I think the real question comes down to analyzing and understanding, is there something, or can you get some feedback from somebody? Often, I think people are reluctant to try to get feedback about why something didn't work, or why somebody wouldn't invest you. When I was starting a company in the early 80s, we went to a bunch of venture capitalists, and a bunch of them just turned us down. And we thought, this is the greatest invention in recent history. I mean, how can you not invest in this company? And it was hard to get the reason from them. In some cases, I didn't get it till subsequently. So sometimes you can get data that then enables you to say, okay, how can I do this better?
Rewire and rerun.
Yeah, rewire, rerun it, right? Sometimes you just conclude, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah. I mean, you've had a lot of experiences where it seems like you have had to sort of build that resilience. Do you think that's something that you sort of inherently had, or do you think resilience is more of a skill that people can learn and acquire?
No, I think it's a skill you learn and acquire. Clearly you have some embedded in you by the time you reach college. It's your parents, it's your school, it's your friends' experience that gives you some sense of self-confidence and resilience to bounce back. But I think you also build it over time. There's a great quote by Helen Keller that I absolutely love. She says, "The timid are caught as often as the bold," and it's a really good insight. The truth is that the not challenging yourself or not doing something that's outside your comfort zone, you kind of know what that outcome is. You're not going to learn something new or
Right.
manage a new skill. You challenge yourself, you may actually learn a new skill. You may not get the next A on your GPA, but you may learn some new things about your capability and knowledge in a field and what you're capable of doing.
Right.
So if you think of one of the core purposes of undergraduate education is to prepare yourself to be a lifelong learner, because I think in today's society, if you stop learning, you're not going to be able to be a contributor and a leader anymore. So I think that skill of stretching outside your comfort zone and feeling you can be successful still is a critical confidence to build during college time.